What name could contain such a glory? In the cool breezes of Eden, wrought from the infant earth, one arose, the voice of his creator speaking his identity to life. Adam, man. And as heaven waited short with breath, the creator spoke yet another, Eve, mother of all the living. So it was with Abraham, named in the promise as the father of nations, Peter, the rock upon which the church would stand. The name called to life the destiny within. The name set the stage for all that was to come. And unto us a child was born. And what name could contain his glory? For he was mighty God, as the universe gasped into being, flinging rays of light from his presence to pierce the void, to shatter the shadows to a tapestry of color. And he is mighty God, shattering our darkness, revealing our light, our truth in him. He was everlasting Father when orphaned Israel needed a father's touch. When we, with grief-stricken cheeks, need the embrace of one who never leaves. When we have lost our way to dark horizons, it is our everlasting Father who lights the way home. He is Prince of Peace. When, like Elijah, we need the still small voice in the turmoil's midst. When, like David, we need the melodies of his presence to soothe our troubled minds. He is sanctuary within our trials, shepherd guiding us to still waters. And yes, he is wonderful counselor. God who gives counsel in the chaos, crafting disorder into calm and failure into beauty. He is a voice for the voiceless. He is dignity for the stateless soul. It is he who raised up a lowly shepherd to become a king. He who took the fishermen of Galilee and made them leaders of history. It is the counselor who redeems our lost years, breaking chains that have kept dreams imprisoned and joy confined. The name reaches across eternity, exclaimed by the splendors of galaxies, sung by the passions of angels, roared in heaven's fervor, exalted in creation's unfettered rejoicing. What name could contain him? What title? What soul renown? For this is our wonderful counselor. This is our mighty God. This is our everlasting Father, our Prince of Peace. What name could contain Emmanuel, God with us, Yahweh, the great I am? What name could contain the word of life, the light of the world, the King of kings, the Lord of all? We bow to the name that holds every other in its matchless worth. What name could contain such a glory? What name but Jesus? We cry Jesus. We cry holy is the name.
But Advent is a season of anticipation, preparation, and invitation. It's something to anticipate, something to prepare for, and also something to receive an invite to, but also to invite others into. Last week we started and looked at this idea of Emmanuel, which means God with us. And this is a promise that we've been given, that God, who was felt distant and in heaven and didn't know anything about us, sent his son to us to become Emmanuel, God with us. And Advent is God inviting us to experience his presence. And it's us inviting him into every part of our celebration. Last week we looked on how to do that. So if you want to catch up on our YouTube channel or our podcasts, you can search up Lighthouse Church IE and you can follow last week's message. But for us, it's something to experience and to extend, because we've seen that the invitation of Christmas is both to receive, that we want you to receive Emmanuel. We want you to receive Jesus as the greatest gift, but it's also something for you to extend. We receive his presence and we share it with others. And week 2, we're going to call this message today, In Excelsis Deo. And Vale read these passages in Luke and these verses, and we've seen this phrase, glory to God in the highest, that on this day there was a baby conceived, and we celebrate some babies, but why are we making a big deal about this one? Why are we still talking about the birth of this baby over 2,000 years later? Because it was a promise, it was a fulfillment, and it's much more than just a baby being born, but actually our calendar even reflects the day that Jesus was born. And so we're going to look at this idea, glory to God, in excelsis Deo. And it's not part of a carol. It's not just song that we sing, but it can be a reality in your life. And you know this to be true around the Christmas season as we think about Advent, as we go into a busy season, that Christmas gift giving is stressful. Anyone gets stressed when we think about presents? We have to think about how many, who we're buying for, how to keep under budget, what are we going to get them, will it be the right size, will it be the right color, will it be in stock, and it just gets stressful and irritating and annoying, having to get all the gifts together ready for the 25th. And then there's the added complexities, and when are you going to give it to that person? You have to drive to their house, you'll have to see them, and how are you supposed to fit that in with all the parties? And it just becomes stressful. And as we try and think about the people that we need to buy gifts for, in this season, we become underqualified mind readers. We're trying to read other people's minds. We're trying to know what they want or what they need, what size they are, what color they will like. Will they like this gift? Do they need this gift? And we try to think about other people and if they would need or want something at Christmas. And we just become a mind reader that normally fails, and we sometimes get it wrong, and they don't use it, or they get the wrong color, and we just blows our mind how difficult buying a gift can be, because there's always that one person who's impossible to shop for. Like, why are people not just straightforward? There's always one person, every family and every friendship group, that is impossible to buy for. In my family, it's my mum, and she has a tail. She says, thank you, and moves on quickly, because either she doesn't like it, she knows it won't fit, and it is impossible. And my dad, God love him, has tried year after year after year, and we celebrate everything that remains in the house because we know that there are going to be many returns. There's going to be many things left back to the shop, but at least he tries. Okay, man, that's something that we can learn. Just try, okay? Even if you feel like everything's going to be left back, even if you think everything won't fit, just try. Okay, buy it. They will appreciate the effort, but she is impossible to buy for. And some people will just say, I don't need anything. Or, no, don't buy nothing. Anything is fine. I want to give you a warning today. It's a trap. Okay, do not listen to that person. If they say, I don't need anything, or anything is fine, that is not the case. Okay, we need to decipher what they mean by that. We need to try and work out, well, when they say nothing, they actually mean this. Or when they say anything is fine, it's just that exact thing that they're looking. So we have to become mind readers this time of year when it comes to gift giving. And it gets difficult because by the time Christmas comes, this beautiful magical day, we're exhausted, we're broke, and we're convinced we've failed the people we love because we didn't get the thing. We were like, how could I be so stupid? How could I look like I don't care? How could I have forgotten what they like? And we just are convinced that we've failed people. And we end up broke. And we end up exhausted. And as we're thinking about the time we've wasted and the gifts that we didn't buy and the gifts that are going to be left, in the middle of all this, there's an unspoken pressure we all feel. That what gift can I give that actually matters? Like, I don't want to be that person that just gives people gifts. Just a random gift card and they can do what they want with it. But actually, how can I get a gift that actually matters, that means something to them, that will actually help them in life? Because gifts are nice, but they fade, they break, and they get lost. Many of us won't be able to remember what we even received last year or what we gave last year. It's just a distant memory because gifts fade, break, and they get lost. Because no candle has ever healed anxiety. No pair of socks have ever fixed a marriage. No Amazon parcel has ever repaired a broken heart. Gifts are great and they bring momentary joy, momentary happiness, but they fade. They don't last. The effects of that gift wear off very quickly, and nothing that we can buy can solve the real problems in our life. And we all, if you're a good gift giver, if you're a good friend or family member, we all want to give something meaningful. But most of us feel like we're falling short. How can I give a real present of worth? Because I'm sure most of us are in the same boat, that we don't have the amount of money that we would love to spend on our loved ones. I would love to spend X amount of money on my parents or my wife or my spouse or whoever it is in your life. We would love to buy them extravagant gifts. But again, they will fade. They will break. And expensive doesn't mean meaningful. So we feel like we're falling short. And we all know people who need way more than we could ever wrap. Like we try and we'll help and maybe we'll bring some encouragement and we'll bring some help. But anything that we can wrap can only bring so much to their life. Because the people that we love, we know them, some of them are hurting. Some of them are hoping. Some are searching. And some are struggling. And there's nothing that we can wrap to really help them with that. People who look like they have it all together. And maybe that's you today. You've got it all together. You've got everything you need. And everything seems to be going okay for you. Yet they're falling apart inside. What do you get someone whose life seems all together, but yet we know because we're humans that something's going on inside. Life is falling apart. So the question I want to answer today is there anything we can give that truly lasts? I want to help you be able to give a good gift this Advent season as we approach Christmas. How can you give a good gift? Is there anything out there that you can give that will last? And we're going to look at a few verses found in the book of Isaiah. And we looked at this book last week as well, so there's a little bit of context that we've already heard. But Isaiah is a prophet. A prophet is someone who hears from God and gives the people a message. And the prophet brings prophecies. The prophecy is something that will happen in the future. So Isaiah in these few verses is going to say something that will be fulfilled in years to come. So we see this happening and unfolding. And in verse 6, this is what Isaiah says. He says, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." Notice here what Isaiah says. He says, it's for us. It's for me. It's for you. This isn't for the spiritual elite. This isn't for those that have life together. This isn't for those that know enough about the Bible. This isn't for perfect people. This is for all of us. This gift that we have been given is for you and is for me. For those full of faith, for those that have no faith, from those close to God, far from God, those that are rich, those that are poor, those that have life solved, and those that are still trying to figure out life. This gift, this child that has been born, this son that has been given is for us, for you and for me. And we see these names that this child and this son has been given because God didn't send a program. He didn't send a strategy. He didn't send a new philosophy, but he sent a person. And the person that he sent, his name is Jesus. And maybe you've heard of him. Maybe you're a Christ follower. You got this. Maybe you know of him from Mass growing up in Ireland, but you don't know him. You don't have a relationship with him because this person, Jesus, isn't just any person. He is the greatest gift heaven has ever given. When we think about the gifts that we have been given, we can probably rank some of the good ones that we've been given, but this gift, this son, this baby that was born has been the greatest gift that we could ever receive. And today you're not receiving a baby. You're not going to leave this place with a baby and you have to go and look after it. Or you're given a brand new son. This is not what Isaiah is meaning. You're not taking home a child. But what you can take home is a relationship with Jesus. And Isaiah goes on in the verse and says that Jesus is our wonderful counselor. He is a mighty God. He is everlasting Father. And he's Prince of Peace. And I'm going to take some moments to unwrap what that means for you. That instead of taking a baby home with you, that as you take Jesus home with you, this is the fullness of who he is. This isn't just a simple gift. It isn't just a simple child born in a manger. But if we have a relationship with Jesus, if we allow him to be in our lives and have a relationship with him, we get to experience him as our wonderful counselor, our mighty God, everlasting Father, or Prince of Peace. So the first thing, if you accept him, the first thing that you can have in your life is him as your wonderful counselor. What would it look like to have him as a wonderful counselor in your life? This word wonderful isn't just he's great, like he's a very good, well done, clap, he's wonderful. This isn't, there's so much more to it. It actually can mean supernatural. It can mean beyond human ability. It can also mean extraordinary. So he's not just wonderful, he's not just great, he's not just above average, but actually he's beyond human ability. He's beyond anything we could ever muster in our life. Anything that we can't do in our own strength, in our own reliability. Anything we bring to the table, he brings something beyond that. More incredible, more wonderful than that. But also counselor isn't just someone who listens. Maybe if you think counselor, you think someone that just listens to my problems. And yet, yes, he still does listen to us. But the idea that they're trying to get across in this word counselor is someone that guides kings, someone who shapes decisions, and someone who reveals the best path forward. So he is this person who guides, who shapes, and reveals outside of our ability, beyond anything we could do, beyond anything we could shape in our own lives. Anything we could try and, okay, I'm going to try and shape my life in a way that I get this job and then I get this home and this works out for me. And we try and carve our own lives out. But in our own strength, we can never do so. When we experience this beyond human ability and we take this person who shapes and guides us, well, then we will receive wisdom beyond your wisdom. We will receive clarity beyond your confusion. You'll receive direction beyond your understanding. None of these things we can do in our own strength. We need someone above us. We need someone extraordinary. We need something beyond our ability to be able to give us these things. When we search around the world, we search it in other people. We try and find it in different jobs and titles, but yet the only place we can find it is Jesus. Because Jesus understands your life in a way no one else can. He understands you. He understands your feelings. He understands the feelings that you go through because he became God with us. He feels what you feel. And today, if you feel lost, he can guide you. Maybe you're here and you're unsure what direction to go in. Maybe you're unsure what Christmas really means. You're unsure why you're here on earth. Today, you can find that clarity in him because he can guide you. And as a human and as a pastor and as your pastor, I can help you. But it would be a guess. It would be a reaction. It would be taking my human ability and trying to give you my perspective. But God doesn't do that. God doesn't guess and he doesn't react, but he leads with perfect clarity. He sees your life paved out in front of you. He knows the plan for your life. He crafted you and created you. So instead of leaning on yourself, instead of leaning on friends and family, why not lean on him? Because he can lead you with perfect clarity. Can you imagine sitting with the one that knows your past, who sees your present and understands your future? If this was a material possession, if this was something that we could pay for, well, then we would throw our money at it. We would throw our attention at it. Imagine someone said, I can predict your future. I can tell you your past. I can tell you your present. We would all be searching for that person, but yet we find that in Jesus. Someone who knows us intricately, and in detail because he created us. The one who knows your heart better than you do. The one who can guide you in ways you didn't even know you needed. That's why he's called Wonderful Counselor. When we can't do it in our own strength, when we need help, when we need guidance, he can be your Wonderful Counselor. He can also be your mighty God. And this idea of mighty can also mean warrior, can mean hero, but can also mean champion. He can be your champion. And we all know this to be true. In life, I feel it, you feel it, you see your friends and family experience it as well. Because every person hits a moment where our strength is not enough. When anxiety overwhelms, when sin traps, when grief crushes, when fear rises, when battles feel too long. We've all experienced feelings like that. But what do? Do we fight it ourselves? Do we go after it ourselves? Do we just persevere long enough to get through it? We know that in many of these cases, we can't do it in our own strength. So we need the strength of another. Because God doesn't offer ideas or solutions. He offers victory. And I'm not sure how your family makeup works, but maybe you have an older brother. And as you were getting into bother, you would have said, I'm going to get my brother on you. Or maybe your father, you would have said, I'm going to get my dad on you. And because you had someone in your corner, it brought you a bit of strength. It brought you a security. It brought you a confidence knowing that you could ask your brother or your dad to take care of your problems. This is what it's like to have God in your corner. You don't need to find a way out. Because when you can't battle anxiety, he can. When you can't break sin's power, he can. When you can't carry the weight, he can. And when you can't see a way out, he makes one. You've got a mighty God in your corner. Jesus doesn't just bring comfort. He also fights for you. That's why he is called Mighty God. And maybe you're here and you are trying to get through life yourself, fighting your own battles, trying to work things out your own way. But God says, I can be your mighty God. I can help you. I can be the one that fights for you. I can deal with the stuff that you can't deal with. That turmoil that's going on inside, sense of hopelessness, sense of loss and pain. We try and solve our own way, and we always end up feeling empty. But today, he can be your mighty God and fight on your behalf. But he can also be your everlasting Father. And as we think about this idea of him being an everlasting Father, it gives us these two ideas. It shows us his eternal nature, but also his fatherly care. I want you to know today that Jesus is unchanging, constant, and everlasting. He exists beyond time, and his care for us never ends. Unlike trends, they go so quickly. Unlike markets, they change every single day. Just like our child's Christmas list, we think that we know what we're going to get them, and then all of a sudden they change their mind because that item that they wanted is not cool anymore. The girls in the playground aren't talking about it. If they got it, well then they wouldn't be able to join in because that's last month's thing. That's last year's trend. And things change. What we thought we were confident in, we were like, this is always going to be this way. This is a surefire way to get rich. It's a surefire way to be popular. It's a surefire way to be safe. But things change. Things don't last. But Jesus never changes. He is our everlasting Father. So he's eternal, but he's also fatherly. He protects, he guides, he provides for, and he loves his people perfectly. Where earthly fathers are limited, inconsistent, or absent, Jesus is eternally present, sustaining and guiding his people. And maybe your story is that you didn't have a father. You didn't have a good role model in your life to show you what it was like to have a good father. But even if your story is opposite and you do have a good earthly father, and that's my story, my father is incredible, he works hard, he provides for me, and he cares for me. But yet, even in his earthly perfection, he's still limited. He can still be inconsistent and absent, but yet there's a heavenly Father who's everlasting, who's unchanging, who never leaves us or forsakes us. He is present. Whatever you're going through, He is present. In the highs and in the lows, He is with you and will sustain you. That's why He is called Everlasting Father. But He can also be your Prince of Peace. And this peace isn't just a moment of quiet or calm. And we love these moments in our calendar where life is busy and we think, if I get a day off, it's all I need. I just need to relax here. I just need to go to the spa. I just need to put my feet up. And it lasts momentarily, and it might get us through another week or through another month physically. But what if we're going through something internally? That there's chaos, there's disorder, there's hurt, there's pain. We're not really sure what's going on in our lives, and our head is just a mess. Jesus just doesn't bring calm, and then the storm comes again. But actually what Jesus brings is this idea of shalom. This word shalom means complete or perfect peace. It's restoration and well-being that flows from God Himself. He can restore you. Not just give you a moment of peace and quiet, but settle your heart, settle your mind, bring a peace that, as it says in the Bible, makes no sense. How could I possibly feel this way when everything else surrounding me is crazy? When there's a storm around me, how can I feel so peaceful internally? Because He can step into our chaos, our worries, our fear, and bring peace that we cannot create ourselves. We can try and create peace momentarily, book in a hotel, book on a holiday, playing our favorite sport. We can have moments, but God wants to bring everlasting peace. He wants to bring a peace in your life so that when the storm is swelling around you, you can still feel calm. You can still feel the chaos outside. You can still feel the worry and the fear, but yet internally, how do I feel so secure? How do I feel so hopeful? How could I feel so peaceful? Because I'm surrounded by this, because God can step into your story. It's not just a calm that's around us, but it's a calm that's inside us, in the deepest parts of our hearts. And I'm not sure what you're carrying today. I'm not sure what's going on in your heart. But God can step into that. That's why He's called the Prince of Peace. Whatever you're going through, whatever is in control of your life, the worry, the stress, the doubt, the anxiety, the worry, the depression, that's controlling your life. But we can make Him the Prince of Peace. He can rule our lives with peace that will expel anxiety, which will get rid of fear. So that, yes, even though life may be crazy around you, internally you will have a peace that surpasses all our knowledge. And that's available for you today. He is our wonderful counselor, our mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. He wants to be those things in your life. It is a gift that has been offered to you, but it's down to us if we want to accept it. And Isaiah goes on in these verses and he says, of the greatness of His government and peace, there will be no end. He's getting this idea across that God is going to rule. God is the King of kings and Lord of lords. He is above everything. He rules the world. And this idea of Him ruling, the greatness of His government and the peace that He will bring isn't temporary. There will be no end. Because this gift that we receive is not a seasonal gift, but it's an eternal gift. A gift that will last. A gift that doesn't change with trends. A gift that will sustain you. A gift that will last from your first day until your last. It's an eternal gift. Jesus is the gift every human is searching for, even if they don't know it. We have a God-shaped hole inside each and every one of us. And we try and fill it with different things. We try and fill it with a title, or possessions, or people, or relationships, or we try and numb it with alcohol and substances. And we try and fill this hole any way we can. But the only way to fill it is Jesus. Our heart is longing for him. And maybe you haven't come to that conclusion yet, that you've been searching for something, that you're longing for something. There's an emptiness inside you and you haven't figured out how to fill it yet. I pray that you hear this today, that it's only Jesus that can fill the void in your life. And the crazy thing is, I don't think most people are Jesus. I actually think they're just not expecting him. We're saying our church in Ireland, because Christians in Ireland, there are not many of us. There's less than 1% of this nation who are Christ followers. And as a church, we say we don't believe people are rejecting the gospel, the good news about Jesus. They just never heard of it. So as Christ followers, as we've received Jesus, as we've received this gift, it is our role, our responsibility, our joy to tell people about him. And you might think, my friends reject him. My friends don't want anything to know about him. But yet you will find someone who won't reject him, just weren't expecting him. I'd never thought about him. Could he possibly do that in my life? They didn't know that he could be the solution to their problem. They didn't know that he could be the hope that they've been looking for. The peace that they've been craving can be found in Jesus. So Christ follower, it is our joy and responsibility to share this gift with other people. And he goes on, Isaiah in verse 7, he says, he will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The seal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. And some of this we may not understand. Why are we talking about David's throne and establishing it and justice and righteousness and the Lord will accomplish? Like, what does this mean for us? This passage that we've read in Isaiah 9, 6 and 7 is part of a prophecy that foretells the coming of the Messiah. So the people that Isaiah were writing to were waiting. They knew that something was to come. They knew that there was a Messiah, a Savior, a chosen one that was going to save them. Maybe in a physical sense and become their ruler, but also in a spiritual sense. So this idea of God coming to reign, they had a picture of what that looked like, that he would come and overthrow the Romans and get rid of anything, and they would be in this perfect town, this perfect place, and live in security forever. So we're reading this prophecy that foretells the Messiah's coming, a Savior who would bring peace, justice, and restoration. And for us, as Isaiah is telling us, he's saying it's from now till forever. That this gift of God, this isn't a gift that will last one Christmas. That we will receive peace for a year. That we will receive joy for a year. But as Isaiah prophesied it, from now until then, you can receive this. That Jesus can change your life. That even though they were waiting on this prophecy to be fulfilled, even though they didn't know what it was to expect or what it was to wait for this Messiah, this chosen one, this Messiah, as Valley read, was born in a manger and has changed this world forever. Changed my life forever. And I pray that he can change your life forever. And this promise that came to the people had nothing. These people had nothing in terms of power and control over their circumstances. And we're the same. There's many areas of our life that we don't have the power or control to change. And that can lead to dissatisfaction. That can lead to pain. That can lead to a striving. That can lead to discouragement. But they were given a hope beyond their own ability. Isaiah was saying, yes, there's this great promise that I know what you're going through now doesn't feel like it. But I tell you, if you experience this gift that's going to be given to you, well, then your life will be changed forever. We don't have the power or control to change it, but there will be. There will be someone who can change your circumstances. There is someone that can bring a hope and peace that we can't create ourselves. Advent declares that God has already given us his best. Heaven's finest has come down. We read in the verses already, glory to God in the highest. The angels were singing this song as Jesus came to earth to be born into a manger. It's incredible. It's an amazing moment. The angels were singing it, but it's not just a song. It is embodied in the Son who is given. That as we experience the gift, as we experience Jesus, we'll experience the glory of God. We'll experience something that will change our lives forever. So the question I want to ask all of us today is, who in your life needs this gift? Who in your life is struggling? Who in your life needs peace? Who in your life is questioning why they're here on earth? Who is it that feels uncertain, ashamed, in depression and anxiety, in worry? Who is it in your life that needs this gift? Because the invitation of Christmas is to both receive and to extend. So I need to ask you today, maybe you've never received this gift before. Maybe you've never received the gift of Jesus being your wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. If you haven't experienced him today, if you haven't accepted Jesus in your life, today can be the day you do that. Pastor Gift's going to come up at the end and give you some next steps to help you start this journey of receiving Jesus into your life. But this invite isn't just for those that don't follow Jesus. But as Christ followers, we are invited to this every single day. To accept him as our wonderful counselor. To allow him to be a mighty God in our life. Because sometimes we accept it and we take it on and he's like, yes, he is my mighty God. But then situations arise and we become our own mighty God. We fight our own battles. We find comfort in other things. We've forgotten that he is our everlasting Father and try and find comfort in the things of this world. So Christ follower, maybe you need to receive this gift again to remind ourselves that he is these things to us. So as we accept it, whether for the first time or whether afresh again, we also need to extend it. We need to receive his presence, but also give it to others. So the question is, who's close to you but far from God? Who can you share this gift with? Who can you give this gift to this Advent season? Because you are invited to participate in someone else's story this Christmas. Through a simple invite, through this gift of Jesus, you can change someone's life. And at the end of our service, we're going to hear another story, as we've been hearing over the last few weeks, of how invitations can change people's lives. Or maybe that's your story, that you were once invited to church. And a service doesn't change our lives. Attending doesn't change our lives. It's only by accepting Jesus that our life will be changed. And maybe that's your story, of accepting an invite and having Jesus turn your life upside down. And our role is to simply just invite others to consider him. Because maybe they've never thought about him. Maybe they've never considered that he is the solution to their problems. Maybe he's never considered that he is the peace that they can find. Maybe he's never thought about how Jesus can change their lives. So we are inviting people to consider him, to think about him. And as they consider him and as they think about him, maybe in him they can find the wisdom that they need. Maybe in him they can find the strength that they lack. As they consider him, they will find the peace that they're looking for. And in him they will find the relationship their soul was made for. Church, this Christmas isn't about filling seats. It's about opening the door to the greatest gift they will ever receive. We're not doing this so the room will be full. We're not asking you to invite people just so that Christmas will be busy in this place. But people are strangely open to Jesus at Christmas, to coming to church, because they haven't rejected it. They're just not expecting it. You might walk into work on Monday and someone will ask you, what did you do in the weekend? And it's an open door to inviting someone to church. And they may not expect an invite. They may not expect that in that moment their life could change, because they're living their everyday life. They're eat, sleep, work, repeat. And you've stepped into the middle of that and invited them to church. Maybe something they've never considered. And as I said, it's not church that does the change in our lives, but it opens the door to the greatest gift they will ever receive. So what if the glory we're searching for is not found in the spectacular, but in the Son who steps quietly into our world? Not in the lights, the trees, the hustle and bustle, the gifts, but it's actually found in the Son who has stepped into our world, stepped into our mess, stepped into our turmoil, and can transform it forever. I want to give you 3 quick practical takeaways for you to do this week. Firstly is to identify intentionally, to think about one. Pick one individual God has placed in your world, someone close to you but far from God. Who's the one? Not a group, not 10, not everyone you see, but who is that one person that you could invite next week? Who's that one person that you know is struggling? That one person that their life is just in turmoil? That one person that's always struggled with hope? Who can you choose? Who can you identify intentionally this week? Second thing we can do is we can pray persistently. A simple, faith-filled prayer. God, open a door and give me courage to walk through it. As I said, many people already open the door to you. When you go to work on Monday morning, most people are asked, well, how was your weekend? So you're offered the open door. But the prayer is that you would have the courage to walk through it. To tell them, hey, I was at church. We had a great time. Been going for a while. And I'd actually, do you know what? I'd love to invite you to come. We've got this great series at the minute called Christmas at the Movies. Everyone's going to get free popcorn and Coke. Our pastor went on location to film this incredible message that we're going to hear. And we're going to use movies and take some biblical truth from those movies that we can use in our lives, and it'll help us. I'd love for you to come and sit with me. It takes courage to walk through that open door. It may be presented to you on Monday morning. You may have to go out of your way and invite someone. You may need to knock on someone's door and say, hey, I just wanted to ask, are you free over the next few Sundays? I'd love to invite you to church with me. So let's be praying for this simple, faith-filled prayer. God, open a door. And then the last thing, invite confidently. Not confidence in ourselves, not confidence in our words, but confidence in the God who has already given the greatest gift. I don't need to worry. I know the band are prepared. I know the Fulcia team are ready to welcome people. I know the popcorn and Coke are ready to go. I don't need to be confident in a service. I can be confident in a God who has already given the greatest gift. So when I walk into Caleb's creche and invite the members of staff there, I can be confident, knowing that if they receive Jesus, their life will change forever. Knowing that when I talk to my neighbor and invite them to church, I don't need to worry about anything, because I know that God can come through in their life. Now, every time I get my hair cut and my barber asks me what's going on in life, and I tell them about church and this is my job and this is what I get to do, I can say, hey, this is what's coming up. I'd love to have you there at it. So who is it that you can invite confidently, knowing that as they arrive, as they experience God, if they receive Him, that God can change their lives? Can you imagine if we all did that? Can you imagine if we all identified one person, prayed that simple prayer, and invited confidently? What would be possible? We can be the church that does not keep this gift to ourselves. We, Lighthouse, can be the church that says, come and see what God has given. We can be the church that brings light into darkness because the light has come. So I want to invite you to stand as we come and close our service. We're going to have one song called Who Else? Who else can fill the void in our life? Who else is it that can speak into our soul? Who else is it that can bring peace to chaos? Who is it that can be a wonderful counselor? Who can be an everlasting Father? Who can be a mighty God? Who can be a Prince of Peace? So church, I want to invite you this Advent season, let's give the greatest gift. Let's invite our people to meet Jesus. And let's fill the house with hearts ready to receive heaven's gift. At the end of service, we're going to give out invites for you to invite your world. But if you invite one person, it may not seem that significant. It may not seem that big. It may just seem like, it's only one person. But if we all done it as a church, it's hundreds of people. Hundreds of people who will receive the greatest gift. Hundreds of people that were going to meet Jesus. Hundreds of hearts in this house ready to receive heaven's gift. I'm full of faith that this Christmas God is going to change people's lives. I'm believing that lives will be transformed. I'm believing that your friends, your family, your colleagues, as they come into this space, that they would come to know him as their wonderful counselor, their mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And what a joy it is that we get to invite people into that. We don't need to give them a wrapped up gift under the tree. We can give them so much more than that. We can give them life and life to the full that can only be found through Jesus.